Welcome back to the North American LCS in Game 3 between Team Solo Mid and Counter Logic Gaming. With a big momentum swing there, TSM have brought it to Game 3. You guys said they had to keep the changes going, though, and get in even better shape than to come into Game 3.
I think the ban pick phase might change a little bit. I'm pretty sure that CLG is going to target that Karma instead of the Syndra. So I think the team comp's going to be changed around a little bit, but I feel like CLG knows what they want to play. They just have to stick to their guns and play it how it needs to be played. Okay, well, you mentioned the Karma ban instead of the Syndra. Bjergsen is the first guy I want to talk about here. Pentakill in the last game. Clutch performance here for TSM. What's he got to keep doing? What's he got to keep doing? He's got to keep getting those pentakills, I guess.
Yeah, that'd help. Get a couple more pentas.
No big deal
turn
there.
the game around. I mean, people say Bjergsen was pretty much an all-assassin guy, and assassins got a huge nerf with the increased exhaust reduction in damage. But he can play other things here. It just takes longer for him to get the penta now. He's got to do more sustained damage. Seems to be adapting to the team fights fine. I think the mid game, he might need to do switch something up.
All right, well, next guy we're going to talk about, though, is Dyrus here in the top lane. Former mid laner for a brief time during the last split. But basically, right, still the rock of the team. Mooned the second time in a row now, had a bit of a better performance and held up really well against Nian.
Well, a lot of it is also, they didn't really target him as much this game. They let him ramp up, and if you saw the first game, they're like, oh, Mundo, like, we're just going to kill him a whole bunch of times, and he's never going to be able to do anything. But in this game, they gave him that breathing room, they let him farm up, and he just became unkillable with all those shields.
Yeah, it seemed to be really good. So let's talk about CLG then. If you guys said actually, as long as they kind of actually play their plan properly, they should be fine. We'll talk about Link a little bit, though, because he did not have nearly the same kind of performance here on Orianna.
You want to get it?
Yeah, I mean, he was more of a support jungler there, even though it was actually Bjergsen running the Karma in mid lane. Going 0-0-10. I still like the Orianna pick. I don't feel like the pick was a problem. It's really strong in the current meta right now. I don't feel like it was a big deal.
Yeah, I like the pick. I think it worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, just didn't work out in team fights?
Yeah, I don't feel like it was that bad.
All right, well, let's talk about Nian then. The top laner here was on Jax. I know at one point you mentioned he got really greedy, didn't go back to buy items for a while. He was sitting on like 2,000 to 2,500 gold when he did die in that like side lane push. What's got to happen for Nian here?
He looked like anxious to play that game. The moment he locked in that Jax, like, oh my god, they actually gave it to me. This is my chance to shine. And he started doing some really, really aggressive plays, and he got really greedy. Like, when Link got caught out, I think Nian was sitting on 2,000 gold and just trying to fight Mundo to the death. And, yeah, he died for it. So be a little bit less greedy. I mean, I like the aggressiveness, but more calculation.
All right, so we're going to get ourselves into Game 3 in a second, but I got to ask you guys first. Kobe, I'll start with you. Prediction for Game 3.
Ooh,
started with CLG.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to stick with CLG, but man, this one should be the closest of all three games. TSM actually have a pretty good chance now.
Same.
I think it'll definitely be close, but if CLG just plays their comp right, I think they out-strategize.
The thing is, when I say it's gonna be pretty close here, CLG do tend to choke sort of in high-pressure situations. Yeah. So that's the only thing I'm worried about here. Will there be that third game choke for CLG? I still have confidence, though. I'm still picking CLG. Stop booing.
I know, the crowd's just like, how dare you say that?
Like, CLG junglers, we've been saying CLG the whole time we're up here.
It's okay. The crowd, you guys have plenty of TSM chance to make us understand that you guys are still in the audience. I appreciate it. We're going to throw it back over to Quick Shot and Jat, though, for the play-by-play of Game 3.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Kobe sitting on the fence a little bit. I think we can go for that. But Game 3, pick some bans. Saint mentioned maybe Karma being a focus ban.
I
don't know.
Really wonder about that. Like, it came in huge at the end of the game, but how impactful was it to the overall strategy? Bjergsen definitely showed his propensity for playing it. And sometimes you do want to just get rid of those surprise picks so they can't win a series for you. I really wonder if they have a ban to spare, though, since they are on the red side this time. They are going to have to ban away the Soraka. They probably want to deny Jax. There's a lot of stuff they already have to control in the ban.
Syndra's been the ban that has thrown us off somewhat, and we'll need to see if it does get prioritized once more for CLG. Jax, so far 3-2 on the week, as far as games are concerned. And Lucian, still undefeated. It's my fun stat of the weekend. 7-0 on Lucian. We'll see who gets his hands on that 80 carry in this final deciding game between Team Solo Mid and Counter Logic Gaming.
Well, I mean, if we're basing it off of pick trends, they're not going to first pick a Lucian, and it's always been taken in the second rotation by the red side. So I would guess that CLG is going to be getting him this time. Unless their ban strategy is to leave up a bunch of the OP champions, which doesn't seem to be the case with the first 2 bans.
So Lulu taken off the table by Team Solo Mid. This is something they have adapted to. They banned it away in game 2.
Lucian ban. There we go.
So,
trend broken.
His 100% win ratio is kept intact. The rest of the bans coming through, as you've talked on already. CLG taking away that Soraka. They also have banned Jax. The question is, what will be their 3rd ban? TSM actually banned Thresh in game 1 of the series to deny that from Aframu. I wonder if it's a consideration. Maybe Lee Sin, something else they've done. There's so many potentials for TSM. They've got 5 seconds left to lock it in.
There are so many champions up. Kha'Zix ends up being the call. And about 1/3 of the time in the LCS, but even more against these 2 teams because Dexter is so good at it. TSM doesn't want to have to use their first pick on it this time. But even more so, they don't want to give it to Dexter.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what Dexter and the rest of CLG decide to lock in. Really slow pick ban phase. Both of these teams, you can feel the weight of this game and how important a spot in the final, in the championship game is.
Really interesting that that's a Thresh ban, since COG probably could have gotten it on the backside. Unless TSM was willing to first pick it. TSM does first pick it fairly frequently. We didn't really know what TSM was going to be approaching the pick ban phase with, because they've had to adapt so much, and that's why this is so fascinating. We got to see the Karma last game. Now we get to see the first pick Nocturne, which is something that the Odd One played a ton of late season 2. It is a champion he's familiar with, but just not recently.
Forcing CLG onto a new jungler, or jungle champion for this series.
Yep.
Dexter run that Nocturne in both of the previous games, or at least give some of the initiation power maybe back over to TSM. They haven't had the strongest of go-in style champions.
He was stressing right there. Still is. They're wondering what to do. I think they were really banking on being able to get the Nocturne.
Those are not the faces of very happy men right now. I do want to touch on this Lee Sin. It has been locked in. 100% win ratio for Dexter coming into this. He was 4-4 on the split. The reason I want to highlight that, when they played Team Solo Mid in week 11, week 10, Darius was playing Shyvana, and Dexter instantly deleted and cancelled his Dragon's Rages over and over and over. Every time a Descent came in from that Shyvana, Dexter was really on point with getting him out of the team and protecting CLG.
Thing is, I don't see any reason that Darius doesn't just play Mundo again. He spammed with the first 2 games. He got punished a bit in game 1. But if he gets to late game against a jungle Lee Sin, that kick on Mundo ain't going to do much. It's just going to slow him down a little bit, and he'll come right back at you with cleavers.
Do notice that Darius currently has flash teleport on his summoners. The only reason I highlight that, he's been heal teleport both of his previous games. So maybe an indication that something else is coming. So again, we are still burning down the clock. Remember, the winner of this game advances to the North American LCS Spring Playoffs Championship game and is looking for a slot at All-Stars.
Really?
Leona and Renekton.
So TSM has decided to do something completely different. Or just do something old, in a sense. Just because Renekton, Leona, Nocturne is very much the win at 25 minutes TSM composition of days gone by, where they dominate the laning phase, they set up bot lane ganks with Nocturne, and they just try and execute and maintain control. That's the Renekton pick tells me.
And we'll see if they can pull that off. We'll also see how important the opening minutes of this game will be. The towers have been traded and swapped, and if TSM are looking for that lane dominance that you've highlighted, maybe they want head-to-head matchups. Maybe they don't want to give up towers early on. Also, as a note, 5-5. Darius is undefeated on Renekton this split this year.
If they're picking Renekton, they want to force Renekton into a 1v1 lane. They want Darius to be able to shine. Yen is really worried about this pick ban phase. Good lord.
I don't think I've
never
ever
seen him that stressed.
I've never seen Dexter that stressed. And consider that Dexter was on the world stage at the Season 3 World Championships in the groups, and I've never seen that look on Nian or Dexter's
Aframu,
face.
though. Aframu always brings out Alistair in the face of Leona so he can headbutt her out of combos, and they try to set that up. They usually do that with Vayne, though. This time they're doing it with Caitlyn. This is very low overall damage output by CLG. They're going to have to rotate exquisitely if they want to win this one.
We'll need to see how Link decides to play that mid lane. Going to need some form of damage to back it up. TSM side, Every single champion on Team Solo Mid's composition is screaming early damage.
Yes,
early
absolutely.
damage is screaming early lane dominance, and we'll see who works it out.
So Corky gets in for Wild Turtle. Big pick there. It's just so many of TSM's classic champions is exactly what they went back to in this game 3. They took a complete move back to comfort, but because of the red side pick and ban meta that just developed within this series, the fact that they ended up banning the Lucian, they put CLG off kilter as well. CLG is playing something entirely different as well. These are common champions for CLG. It's what they're used to, but this would be a patch 4.2 or a patch 4.3 early 2014 season stuff that these guys are going at it. And at that time in the year, TSM was miles better than Counterlogic Gaming.
Well, we'll have to see if that same trend continues. These comps somewhat reminiscent of the games you've seen this weekend. Yesterday when Curse was dealing with the poke that was coming out of Dignitas, it took 3 games for them to find their initiations. Team Solomid doesn't have that time. They need to be on point right now.
They look like they've picked a very comfortable composition. It's really going to depend heavily on if TSM can get this early game control and understand where CLG has been going. CLG came out on top in both games 1 and 2 as far as early game map movements, and with this team composition, TSM has to jump on them early.
We'll have to see if they make it work. Players are loading into the game. We want to know, once again, just remind you all to tweet at us who you think will win. Remember, the compositions and the look on Nian Tanso's face. That was stretched. Nian's face.
Yeah, Nian's face. Or Nian Tanso, who changed his name. Cast your vote by tweeting at LOL Esports, the hashtag TSM or CLG win. And it's been going back and forth.
It's trended in CLG's favor. It has trended up in CLG's favor. I think for Nian, he really needs to settle his nerves. He's on that trundle. He needs to be a tanky frontline because truthfully, if anybody gets past him, there's not a lot of damage sitting on CLG's roster.
The whole team is a little bit low. I wonder how CLG is going to manufacture kills. That's really what they're going to have to do. They don't necessarily have the ability to force them. They don't have absurd team fighting ability. They just have to be very sneaky about the way they get things done. Dexter has to be completely on point with Leaf. Everything has to work in synergy.
We are into the deciding game of Team Solo Mid versus CounterLogic Gaming. TSM on the blue side for this one. Heavy initiation comp coming up against CounterLogic's control comp, I think I'm going to call it. Deciding spot in this championship game. A winner of this advances and has a chance to claim the title as the best team in North America for this split so far.
And they're going to end up playing the winner of Cloud9 versus Curse. Cloud9, of course, the heavy favorites in the matchup, which comes up right after this. So we have League of Legends all day long. But what a way to start it off here.
Hoping for more best of 3s to go all the way. We had one of them yesterday. This is the same strategy that CLG pulled out in game 1, using Nian as that sort of lure, sitting in the river and waiting for anyone to come by. There's a fair amount of CC, but it doesn't look like TSM are going to fall for it. Previously, TSM were the ones that invaded red, and ladies and gentlemen, the TSM fans are out in force. I feel they were silenced in game 2, and they are back for game 3.
After that Bjergsen pentakill, everyone came out of the woodwork for TSM. 84-16. Early game, I wonder if CLG is going to be pulling off invades. Do have the teleport, obviously, if they want to try and correct the lanes, but it actually seems like TSM is in position to set up a 2v2 laning phase.
CLG not really moved from their early positionings, and we'll see how that laning phase works out. This is duos that we've not seen a whole heck of a lot of this year. Corky Leona against Caitlyn and Alistair, and this is old school combos. I mean, this is season 3, season 2 stuff even.
Well, Aframu loves playing Alistair against Leona. He just hopes people play Leona, because Alistair is probably his favorite champion as far as playing support. It's going to be very interesting. This is awesome how we get the straight up lane matchups in the deciding game. So much of this is just telling you TSM, 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 because this is the type of game where they went on the 11-game winning streak, and this is how they have been dominating teams. Game 1 was won because TSM played CLG's game. Game 2 was extremely close because TSM pulled out something new and kind of reset the deck. Now it's game 3. It's CLG playing TSM's game.
Let's see who comes out superior. Darius taking a lot of damage early on, actually. He's going up against Nian with that cloth armor and a whole bunch of potions. So sustain somewhat sitting in Nien's favor. We'll see how Darius continues to handle that lane out.
Yeah, this is going to be Bjergsen trying to bully Link early on, and then afterwards it's going to be all about the long-range spears and Link staying out of engagement range of the LeBlanc. Bjergsen's had a very dominating year on LeBlanc, being able to pretty much destroy anyone.
On the same token, he's also had some games where he hasn't necessarily swung the entire outcome
Yeah.
in recent weeks. We did see in the previous game, though, Bjergsen was, I think, significantly ahead of Link in terms of CS with the Karma pick. We'll see if he can get that sort of dominance again. He's got a small lead. And here's the interesting lane that we talked about.
Yeah.
Move into X Special.
Caitlyn is one of Doublelift's favorite AD carries because of the ability to just keep someone at bay. Can't talk about that though. Dexter going in for Dyrus.
See how this works out. Dyrus does have flash. He's going to slice once, does have dice, does manage to get away. Sonic Wave connects. That's instant flash from Dyrus. He's going to put distance between him and Nien. But flash burn, successful gank by CLG.
Yeah, Dexter's going to walk into the odd one. That's going to be a lot of damage.
Spell shield is up. That is a lot. Dexter is going to continue moving safeguards away. That's a good amount of damage from the odd one on Nocturne.
It is, but the lane is still frozen here for Nien if he keeps it here, and that should give him a bit of an experience edge on Dyrus. Dexter decides to shove it up a little bit. He's trying to keep pace with the odd one as well.
Oryx Special does manage to jump in the way. Finally stuns up Afram, who held onto that shield of Daybreak for a very long time. But at the end of the day, trade in favor of CLG again.
Yeah, before that gank happened in the top lane, we're talking about why Doublelift likes Caitlyn so much. She has a very quick attack animation, and when you're extremely good at Caitlyn, you can just stay completely out of range of someone with inferior range. Like Corki, 550, Doublelift will be very good at just getting those one auto attacks and always walking backwards extremely quickly. He's very tough to kill, especially late game. And with the Alistar, anytime they try and engage on him, it's just that added level of peel to isolate targets.
Wild Turtle, very low on hit points, does not have that potion to keep himself sustained. Aframu's keeping Doublelift nice and healed thanks to heals that he's throwing out. One thing we didn't touch on, 2 ignites on the side of TSM. We'll get to that in a second. They've caught Blink out. That is a root, but doesn't manage to connect with a Javelin. 2 ignites in TSM versus none on CLG.
But Flash and Heal burned in the mid lane, and the ignites on TSM are just indicative of them trying to reset this playstyle to being earlier on. They're not playing the heal game. They're still playing their old win early, destroy the lanes style, and they're going to hope to power through the healing of CLG with multiple ignites.
So with that being said, Council Logic Gaming have had the first early wins in terms of the top lane and the bottom lane, forcing Wild Turtle back. Link struggling somewhat in the mid lane, and CS is sitting pretty even. Nien was a little bit down from Dyrus, but that's been evened up. And Dexter, he's sniffing this bottom bit. I feel this might be forced. I don't really see Wild Turtle Special being caught out.
Exactly. I feel like the only way Wild Turtle Special go in is if they're getting a gank from the odd one. It's probably just a misread there by Dexter. He was hoping to counter gank, and Alistar would have been very good at supporting that gank, but it ends up just being Lee Sin standing in a brush for a small period of time.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, I suppose. Dexter's going to back away and still trading this top lane.
Yeah, and Dexter is actually going for a very aggressive early game. As you can see, he's done 2 longswords before even completing his Spirit Stone, so he's most likely going for that Lizard Elder, but he's went for the damage first.
Hasn't necessarily paid off just yet.
Hasn't been able to find ganks.
Great to see Dexter changing his jungling style, though, as the series has gone on. From that Feral Flare, now spending a lot of time in lanes. We haven't seen him make this sort of concerted effort at interrupting lanes. You can see he's moving to the top as well. Once again, coming up behind Dyrus.
But level 6, going to be tough to tango.
Dominus is up, instantly thrown. That's a chomp. That's slice for 1. Does actually stop, turns it back around. That's very aggressive by Dyrus. Dexter nowhere near landing that Sonic Wave, but Dyrus totally in control, reading the situation well.
Yeah, and now he gets that empowered Q on the full wave, and it's like that gank never even happened, except both CLG members are low. Plus, there's a Nocturne waiting in the wings. This is going to hurt Dexter's jungle substantially.
So level 5 Nocturne does not have Paranoia, about 3/4 of a way from getting to his ultimate, but very well turned around by Dyrus.
He's in complete control. TSM has to be so happy that they could isolate Dyrus in a laning scenario against Nien, especially with Renekton. That is where Dyrus is comfortable, and it's where he shines. He is just manhandling this top lane.
Not even afraid to go in. That's the subjugate. Once again, Dyrus just trying to put some distance between him. Dexter is very low. There's no dominance. That's a flash forward from the end just to get the chomp. They're going to continue
there's no
to chase.
ultimate on Dyrus.
Sonic Wave is there. Now Dyrus is looking for a cooldown. 4 seconds before the slice and dice. Dexter flashes away from the stun. First blood secured, and Dexter outplays an overconfident Dyrus.
absolutely what happened there, Quickshot. The overconfidence of Dyrus comes back to haunt him, and they give it back. He gives away his lead in the top lane, trying to bite off more than he could chew.
Particularly like the flash timing from Dexter.
Yeah, that empowered W may have taken him out, so he had to flash away.
Good read on the situation. Good counter, actually, from CLG. So Dyrus forced to use that teleport to get back to lane. Well, not forced. He decided to. Gonna continue pushing out the wave. Still has a CS advantage, but Nian coming back with that Vamp Scepter.
Yeah, big time battle in the top lane. The bottom lane has been a little bit more subdued. It's because the Alistar actually negates a lot of aggression early unless you try and go in for ganks, in which case he has fairly good gank support. You really don't see much Alistar against most picks because he's poked out fairly easily. He's all in or just mainly useless early on in the laning phase. You pick him for the team fighting. And CLG is at least with that edge in the bottom lane.
We do see CLG. They're getting that extended laning phase, and when you've got champions like CLG's, the Trundle, the Nidalee, the Alistar you mentioned, the later the game goes, the happier they're really going to be.
This is an interesting timing maneuver right here by CLG. They expect Odd One to be over at his blue buff right now, so they're just rushing down the dragon. A nice move there, just having the timers. So CLG is playing the standard laning phase. It's actually going entirely how you would expect if you're ranking the strength of these teams. Nian is losing to Dyrus in the 1v1, which is expected. Doublelift and Aphromoo, they think they're the best bottom lane in North America. They're winning by 20 in pretty much a straight up 2v2. And then mid lane, Bjergsen with the Blanc, a slight edge, and is able to roam. They're really trying to punish Nian here in the top lane.
We'll see if they can make it stick. Dominus is available for Dyrus, has been thrown down. Nian's been silent. Subjugate is out. He's healing, and he's down. Another fantastic dive from a LeBlanc, this time Bjergsen and Dyrus.
Aside from not being at the turret, nothing Nian could have done there. Dyrus was so tanky with that ultimate, just eating up the turret while Bjergsen was free to spam spells on him. Dexter gonna have to soak up the experience while Nian is gone.
So we've seen Shifter doing that yesterday. It didn't really help Coast out. We'll see if Bjergsen can make it stick more. He's got the makings of a Deathfire Grasp. The only reason I point that out, it's somewhat different to the LeBlanc builds we've been seeing in recent weeks.
Yeah, but it's one of Bjergsen's specialties, is just finding the single target and crushing him out. You may have seen the death cap by a lot of others, but this is the Bjergsen special as far as the way he plays LeBlanc. Another thing that is very important to note is because of the standard lanes, Odd One has had much more time to farm stacks onto his Wriggles Lantern. His Wriggles is at 16 stacks. He needs 25 for Feral Flare. He is going to get a very early transform on that, and he has a bunch of experience, already level 8, with double buffs.
And that's a role reversal from the previous game where it was Dexter that got that early. They caught Doublelift. Aphromoo was in the mid lane.
Yep.
Instant flash from Doublelift.
Damage potential of that Corky Leona lane is too immense for Doublelift to not burn flash right away.
Solar Flare, rather, is available for X-Special, knowing that Doublelift doesn't have that flash, and that is such good damage from a Tiamat Renekton.
This is going to be a problem for CLG. Nian needs to find a way, and CLG as a whole needs to find a way to manipulate this game and make it about roaming. The longer Dyrus is isolated against Nian, the more punishing he is going to become.
Oh, look at that damage. Nian's in trouble. Dominus is only a few seconds away from being available.
Doesn't even have flash.
Dyrus may consider this. Look at Odd One's positioning. Dexter is going to respond, so this could quickly become a 2-on-2. Dyrus, the question
This is a bait at this point, though, with Dexter there. They were hoping to bait a tower dive, and Dyrus, he's gotten caught going over aggressive once and recovered. Will he do it again?
Do you see Dexter, Odd One rather, still hanging around? Every time I see Nocturne going up, oh, that's a great pulverize. Aphromoo interrupting the Zenith Blade. My word, man, your reaction times.
He is the Alistar player for a reason, but look at that damage to the mid lane while the gank approaches top. Here's Lee set for the maybe save. He's gone.
Oh, Nian is dead. That was just perfect. Dexter, you really don't want to stick around for that one. He's going to try soak up the XP, but 1-2, wham bam, thank you ma'am, and Nian's gone.
That was brutal for Nian right there. Dyrus, even with the slight Renekton nerfs early, 200 less health on his Dominus, doesn't matter because this matchup isn't even close. It's about the damage, actually, for Dyrus right now. Double Thorns with the Tiamat, not letting Nian breathe.
So, Dyrus is just going to continue denying CS and experience. Nian actually forced to teleport to that top lane. So, Summoner Spell used. Trying the best he can, but every time Dominus and Paranoia is up, TSM can just rinse and repeat. That's 2 ganks on Nian's Trundle. And we talked in the picks and bans how important it was going to be for Nian to be able to be a strong front line to allow Link to find the spears. And it's going to be a long time before that happens.
And it's a TSM special to have Odd One pick a lane and gank it over and over and over again. Oftentimes it was bot lane in the past when they would run Nocturne compositions, but they may as well go where their strength is right now and keep going at Dyrus' Renekton. Meanwhile, he just gets to keep farming and stack up that Feral Flare.
Getting closer and closer for the item to evolve. Team Solo Mid now for the first time all series with a lead out of the laning phase. First tower secured in favor of Team Solo Mid. Public opinion is with them, momentum is with them. That's a second tower less than a few seconds later. And this is a massive swing in control.
TSM is a team with exceptional solo laners, and they got to solo lane 1v1, and they made CLG pay. Exactly what they wanted tactically coming into this series. It's incredible that they were able to force CLG into this position.
CLG now going to try to find a way to respond. Remember, they did grab the first dragon. The reason I bring that up, it's a minute and a half before it respawns. Council Logic Gaming maybe going to consider looking for it. We'll need to see, well, they decide to move in. That bottom end has actually been pretty passive.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's a good steal on the big golem. Insta-flash from the end.
The solo lane control is gone, and Dexter's not strong enough to be able to babysit both of these lanes. CLG is quickly losing control of this game, and you think even to the very start of this, strategically, what has happened really within this series to go from CLG having complete control and dictating the pace to TSM to it being completely the other way. This is the TSM style. They are getting exactly what they want, and CLG is getting nothing right now.
Well, we'll have to see how it works out, especially on Wild Turtle. Combo up together to get that pink ward down. So the pink guy in the bush has been removed. And CLG still looking to farm themselves up. The only moves we've really seen has been from Dexter in the top lane, and it hasn't worked out. It's one of those situations where it's so difficult if you try to gank a losing lane, especially one that can turn it back around, as Dyrus has already done this game.
Here's the trickiest thing. He's went Sightstone Lee Sin. And since they already have a monster of Renekton in the top lane, a 2v1 gank might not even grant a kill. He basically has to go bottom lane, or Wild Turtle and Nick Special are content just farming because they know that their solo lanes will carry them to a victory. Lee Sin can't necessarily gank LeBlanc. She's just going to jump away. Dexter's maybe out of moves here.
We'll need to see what he decides to do. Making his way towards the river. He just placed a ward in that bush. It was instantly pinged out by TSM, so I think they're aware of it.
They might try to find Dexter in the jungle now. Nice nibbly trap.
We're going to, until Vision was revealed. So Bjergsen grabs himself on a trap, immediately backs away. TSM, less focus on stealing buffs from CLG this game. You contrast that to the opening 15 minutes of games 1 and 2. And exactly as you've highlighted many times already, Jet, TSM just wanting those head-to-head matchups, wanting to let their composition and their champion counter picks really do the work for them.
Ooh, this is extremely dangerous right now. The rest of TSM could collapse down onto CLG if they get caught during that dragon. They want to poke with Nidalee Spears before doing anything drastic. This game could very easily get out of hand for CLG if they lost a dragon fight.
Teleports available on both top laners, not needed as they've moved their way down to the bottom half of the map. Dexter still moving into position. It looks like they've given it up.
Honestly, they have to concede this. There is too much strength on TSM right now. Dyrus is level 12 to a level 10 Yen in the top lane. Even though both top laners have came down, both top laners aren't really there because Yen isn't a full person right now when compared to Dyrus. This is just too much for TSM. Too much for CLG to deal with.
TSM, it feels like they're trying to bait CLG to start the dragon because TSM have made no movements for it. They also don't want to get poked down by Nidalee Spears. Keep that in mind. Instead, they've stuck both Dyrus and Bjergsen in the mid lane. No one from CLG is here to defend this. We do see Link, he's taking a long walk around. If the minions hold true, this could be another tower for TSM. I think it's going to be.
Yeah, that's even better than the dragon. They were using the dragon as a way of drawing CLG away from the mid lane, and then because they are so much stronger as a unit, they moved through the CLG jungle, preventing the rotation past the blue buff and giving them free time on that turret.
Just like that, the strategic control and decision making you now feel is in TSM's hands. Games 1 and 2, it was all about CLG and their movements and their plays. And now, how does CLG bounce back? How do they do what TSM did in the previous game to bring it back into this match?
It's going to be incredibly difficult at this point. We heard Kobe talking on the analyst desk before this game that CLG sometimes chokes in these big moments, and it seems to be happening again. If you just look at their just lackadaisical play right here in this game, they haven't made rotations early on in the game. They have lost control, and now they're just back into old habits. playing TSM's game is not the way you beat TSM. And now they just go and get the Dragon.
CLG are too far away for this. By the time they even get within distance, it will be secured. So Team Solo Mid grab themselves a 4,000 gold lead, their first Dragon of the game. Map movements are in favor of TSM and they're doing well.
Even just thinking about the camera shots during Champion Select, Nien had his head in his hands. His mind was shattered before this game even began. Something happened here strategically for these guys, or during game 2, that has put them a little bit on tilt, and TSM is taking full advantage.
And Team Solo Mid have made it all the way down. Most of the turrets in the top half of the map. The question is, at what point does Odd1 give some love to this bottom lane? He's down by those bottom golems. Team Solo Mid seem to continue to be content to farm this one up, grow the lead a little bit further. And Dexter and Link now are the first ones to make their move down. Not sure if this is going to be a tower dive or not. Ward goes down, and that's immediately Wild Turtle out of position.
There is a teleport available on Renection if this dive begins, and there's also a Nocturne with an ultimate up. Turret getting low, but CLG not committing.
Attack speed buff from Nidalee, allowing Double Lift to do work on that tower. Down to below a couple hundred hit points. A warm breath of air should knock it over in this next wave, and it does seem to be the decision here from CLG. They're moving onto the tower. Paranoia is up.
TSM might just go.
And that was a little half-hearted. They do manage to catch Double Lift out. Now Odd1 knocked up into the air. Pulverize is not available. Instantly headbutts Dyrus away. Is it enough though? That's the question. That's a Valkyrie forward from Wild Turtle as Aframu is going to sacrifice himself for the team, giving up his life as a support should. But at the end of the day, TSM hold on to the tower and they get another kill. They should also get the bottom tower as well.
Yeah, that was a nice escape by CLG to avoid taking more deaths, but there was still no realistic way they were fighting there. There was actually a canceled teleport. Flash!
Oh! So that went well. Flash deleted. What was the hashtag LCS big play? Bjergsen deleted that guy? Basically the same situation.
That was big. That's the DFG right there from Bjergsen coming in. Dexter, nowhere is safe at this moment, and the push should continue now from TSM. They're taking advantage of that 20-minute laning phase.
There's nobody on CLG that can defend this. If Double Lift sticks around, he may get jumped. He has been jumped. Bjergsen bursts him down. Summoner heal has been used. Now Bjergsen gets knocked up. As tower hits plus the javelin means he goes down. All of a sudden TSM, have they bitten off more than they can chew? The answer does look to be yes. Xpecial has given up his life, and Dyrus is just going man mode, pushing CLG away. Nien Sonso is finally coming into his own. Dyrus stuns up Nien. We do see Wild Turtle still untouched. Nien still alive. Safeguard shield keeps him up. The Wild Turtle is the next target. Can the slow come in? That's the question. Headshot proc. That's him down. Link grabs himself another kill, and 3 for 0. Odd1 forced to flash over the wall. Link is trying to run down Dyrus. This is going to be scary. Oh, the damage! He gets it! That is a scary crocodile. Link is out.
Link overcommitting right at the end of that fight. TSM does overcommit that fight, though. You could see there is some nice kiting potential for the CLG team if the dive is too big. That is very critical for CLG getting at least something back. Getting a kill onto Bjergsen, getting a kill onto Turtle, all very important things. Still, though, a 5,000 gold edge.
Oh, Shane doesn't connect, and that means Bjergsen needs to back off. So CLG make the best of a bad situation. They lost their tower. They did give up a few kills. Talk us through this.
We have to see this one more time. Double Lift got so low that it kind of baited TSM in, but the stun with the Nidalee Spear, man, Bjergsen was down. He's the biggest threat right here. And then, with Bjergsen down and no mana on TSM, I think is the critical thing. Odd1 and Wild Turtle were both out. Means Corki can't be a persistent threat, whereas Double Lift still can be from the back with his Caitlyn. Then it's just a matter of trying to chase down with pillars and returning fire throughout. Dexter finally comes in at the very end, saves Nien from that auto attack kill. Unfortunately, that Q falls wide. They can only get Turtle. Odd1 had this flash the entire time. He was hoping to split CLG's focus, which he did. And obviously we saw the overcommit at the end from Link, hopping into a big croc.
So Team Solo Mid, a momentary weakness, I think. I'm using that word very loosely, of course, because CLG also committed, also chased, which allowed TSM to grab themselves a few kills on the way out. Gold lead is continuing to grow. You have to highlight that. We're up to 5,500 sitting in TSM's favor. The only tower that has fallen on their half of the map has been in that bottom lane thanks to that previous team fight. So CLG still sniffing for objectives.
Yeah.
That's confident.
And there was a kill in the mid lane while Dyrus was laughing all about that one. We'll get that replay up as soon as this action calms down in the top lane. It is just crazy that it's 5 turrets to 1
1v3.
for such an objective control team.
That's Paranoia comes in. Double lift is being forced out. He's feared. He's held in place. Dyrus gets the kill credit. 3 members of TSM trying to surround members of CLG. Dexter's taking them on a wild ride. It's another kill for Dyrus. 4-1-4.
And the push in the mid lane is just continuing. TSM is taking everything from CLG and leaving them with nothing. It is a complete role reversal from game 1. In game 1, TSM was just showing their mid lane pushes, showing their hand. Now it is CLG, and TSM is punishing them for it.
Team Solo Mid will secure the first inhibitor of the game at 23 minutes and 18 seconds. After the solo kill on Link, after CLG overcommits in the top lane, maybe feeling the pinch, feeling the pressure. And here's that replay.
Yeah.
That's just a straight outplay.
This is just a red buff on Wild Turtle, surprising the crap out of Link at this point in the mid lane. That's 2 times now Link has just gotten too close to the enemy. Once with Renekton, again with Wild Turtle. Him and Yen both struggling mightily in this matchup.
And you can't deny the fact that Corki is an AD carry that we haven't seen a lot of in recent weeks. And you somewhat forget the burst that he has.
Yeah,
No, Team Solo Mid, 81% to 19%. The way they are playing, it's very difficult to see how CLG are going to pull this one back. They need to turtle, and they need to pull off a monumental defense. TSM.
They got to get away from this.
They sneak flag.
There's an ultimate up on X Special. He lands it on double lift.
He manages to go in. Another great knock-up from Aframu. TSM seems to continue to want the chase, though. Paranoia is not available for the odd one. Keep that in mind. Ace in the hole gets channel, but they're just focusing X Special. None of the carries have taken any damage.
Wow.
Yeah, X Special's low, but the carries are still there. Dyrus is the crocodile you want to see.
It's a desperation fight for CLG. They see someone low. They're trying to get as much as they can.
It's not going to work out. Niantonso does throw out that subjugate. Here comes Bjergsen from the side. Tries to burst somebody down. Nobody has died yet. This is the longest engage of the game so far. Dexter's the first victim. Nian follows suit. Dyrus is putting on those blue sage shoes, and the giant crocodile's looking for the cow. The Paranoia finally comes available, and double lift is being chased by the odd one. Manages to get the Duskbringer and the Fear. Double lift's going down. Does manage to use the something heal. Keeps himself up for a few more seconds. It's not enough. There are super minions on the Nexus. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Solo Mid are going to the championship game. Team Solo Mid are pushing down the base.
The teleport comes in from Dyrus, and faster than all 3 of the games, TSM closes out CLG.
Counter Logic Gaming put up a hell of a fight in games 1 and 2, but they got dominated in game 3. Team Solo Mid have done it. They are in the championship game. They will be playing tomorrow, and that was a great turnaround series.
Considering how badly they lost in game 1 and how they were losing in game 2, I cannot say how impressive this game 3 domination was. They had their backs against the wall, and boy, did they respond.
Have to question what was going on in CLG's heads.
What was going on in that camp?
Beginning of the game, Nien looks shell-shocked.
Yeah, look at them now.
Dexter, equally so.
Crushed at this point. The storied history between these teams, how long CLG has been aching to knock TSM off of their pedestal, and it was not the day today. Everything was in CLG's favor, but TSM just pulled it through in the end.
Last time CLG took a series of TSM, which didn't even result in a tournament victory. MLG Anaheim, 2012, if I recall correctly, a long, long time ago. I do, however, want to say that this is the first time in a long time that you feel that TSM and CLG are much closer to evenly matched.
Yes.
This series could have gone either way.
They are so close to the same level. And you could really see it just based off the 2 games. Honestly, if you're breaking it down game by game, CLG won game 1 pretty much as hard as TSM won game 3.
Yeah.
And that game 2 could have went either way.
It really could have.
Yeah.
And the positional mistakes, the positional errors of CLG where they got caught up by that Baron in game 2, that was the opening that allowed TSM to get in there, that allowed them to pick up the 2-1 victory in the semifinals.
Yeah, and in the final game, a lot of it came down to the MVPs of TSM. They're solo laners so often. Bjergsen, a lot of his roams top did help Dyrus get going. They defaulted back to the Renekton. They found a way to get the laning phase to exist for them and kind of bypass the things that were making them weak on this patch.
6-6 on Renekton as far as Dyrus is concerned. Yeah. Bjergsen, 5 wins out of 6 games on LeBlanc. Especially going back to a comfort pick. I mean, even Wild Turtle going back to Corki, he's old school ADC player. It's something you're familiar with, and it caught CLG off guard.
Yeah, and that stuff gets them into the finals. Now they're going to end up facing the winner of our next semifinals. We can see this bracket right here. Cloud9 versus Team Curse is coming up next to face TSM in a final showdown, which will take place tomorrow.
And of course, because CounterLogic Gaming did secure the loss here, they will be taking part in the third, fourth place decider, which will be against either Cloud9 or Team Curse. That'll be first thing tomorrow morning. So great series here in the semifinal. Great victory by Team Solo Mid. And deserved victory, I feel. They really crushed and killed in Game 3.
And it's not over for them. They want to be the spring split champions like they were in 2013. They have to get it back for themselves. This is just a small step. They didn't get the #1 seed, which meant they had to be the ones to knock out CLG on their eventual path to the finals.
There were a lot of people that were anticipating a CLG in the final. I myself felt they had a very good chance. I actually thought in this series, if it went to those mid to late games, CLG had the edge, but unfortunately, it never got to mid to late in the finals.
These were all very quick games, which tends to happen when teams are playing at this level.
Well, that was absolutely fantastic. So for a first-hand account of that commanding win, I'm going to send it over to Freak at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. I want to welcome Reginald and Bjergsen to the desk. Guys, congratulations on the hard-fought win. I want to start at the beginning of the series, though. You guys had to prepare kind of in darkness. You had to buy into the semifinals. Last time we spoke, you said you guys are having a very hard time playing on 4.4. How did you prepare coming into this playoff series?
Pretty much we had like a very, very big talk with Reggie, which helped us out like a lot. We were improving a lot, and I feel like we were actually in a really good spot, but we didn't do any of those things that we learned in the first 2 games, unfortunately. But I feel like we knew what to do, and we weren't like as confused as we were the other weeks. We just didn't really manage to like do it in the first 2 games.
Reggie, what were the things you had taught this team? What were the things they were dropping as well?
So one of the biggest things when I came back was I was helping them with rotations, and just like how the game should be played out in general. And like the first 2 games that came in, they just like didn't do anything we went over. Like we literally reviewed what we were gonna do for like 4 hours yesterday. And the guys are super tired. Like I went over the concept like 5 times in a row. And then after the first game, I like went up stage. I'm like, all right, guys, you guys didn't follow the plans. Just do it this time, right? The second game, they go in. It was a little shaky. They didn't follow the plan again. I'm like, oh my god. But overall, when you like. Overall, when you practice something, it's not guaranteed, but the higher it increases your chances of doing it better. So we just need to practice it more and just come up with more solid plans.
Now, Reggie, I can't help but notice your voice seems a little hoarse. Are you cheering your team on throughout the game?
I think it's the PAX Plague, maybe, with the cheering.
The first game, I was shouting. The second game, like it was so intense. I actually thought that CLG was going to take the game, and then Xpecial came up with the flash hook. If Link flashed it, it would have been a much harder game. But he got caught by the hook, and we snowballed into Baron. Darius also made a huge play bottom, solo killing Jax. And what happened there was, we just snowballed the game and won. But like that game was a very hard match, and we were slowly climbing back in. It looked really grim though. So I was just shouting and going crazy, and I was like so nervous. Like I didn't even want to watch the match at one point.
So, I mean, you talk about this match being so important and nerve-wracking and whatnot. I mean, it's the long-time rivalry, TSM versus CounterLogic Gaming. I know, Reggie, you're now, coaching in the role must be harder for you, but, Bjergsen, you're kind of absorbing this one now, right? And you're the new you're the MVP of TSM, right? You're leading the charge. What's this match mean to you?
Also, because I played against Dexter a lot, and we're good friends, so I kind of have that rivalry too. So I had a rivalry with Dexter, and then we just end up on CLG and TSM. So we kind of have like a friendly rivalry, and then I just join in on the CLG versus TSM bandwagon, pretty much.
You just keep it going. All right, so I want to talk to you then. We'll get ourselves into the games now. Gigantic team fight for you guys. It pretty much sealed the deal there down at Dragon, Game 3. If we can get that replay up on your screen. I want you to walk me through how you chose to engage this fight.
Yeah, I think we went a little bit too hard here. Xpecial and Darius should have definitely backed off earlier with Odd One, and we would have just been at the Dragon earlier. So Xpecial takes a little bit too much damage because we went in too hard, but we're just so far ahead at this point. We're at 8k, I didn't even realize we were that far ahead. So we kind of like engage and disengage. Here I actually go for double lift, but Afro has an amazing headbutt that pretty much just like stops my kill on double lift. But then again, we're just so strong and we just pretty much like roll over them. I would say if Afro didn't actually use that headbutt, I would probably have insta-killed double lift, so that was really well played by him.
You actually mentioned that you were you didn't realize you were 8,000 gold ahead.
Yeah.
How do you sort of catalog advantages in your head? Like, how do you realize, like, oh, we took a bunch of health, but even in like a 4v5, we're okay?
Like at least I knew we were like at least 5k ahead, so I knew we were a lot stronger. But it's like when your support misses or uses all, and then we don't get the engage on, and then he gets really chunked. It's hard to know exactly like how much of that gold really matters into a team fight if you're pretty much just lacking one member from the beginning of the fight.
So I actually want to press you on a couple other things that happened throughout the series. You picked up mid lane Karma here. I know Karma was a big top laner in Europe last split. I don't know if you pulled it up from seeing those games. Like, what's the deal with Karma mid?
I played Karma a lot in solo queue, even back in EU, but I never really felt like it fit the meta. Now the meta is a lot about, unless you're on like CLG's comp in like game 2 or game 1, it's a lot about kiting back. And if you have like the speed up, you have the slow, you have good poke, you have good siege. I feel like Karma is just an overall good champion. She's a lot like Nidalee, but with kind of a stronger mid early, but less poke, but better like zoning control. And it just depends on the game what we really want to go for. And we feel like Karma gives some more early mid-game pressure, and that's where we really wanted to get ahead in the game.
Well, it's actually good you bring this up then, because our next replay is actually your pentakill in game 2. If you want to pull that replay up, Bjergsen, if you want to do the honors, talk to me about how this all came about for you.
We're pretty far ahead here. Like, we got Baron. I think I just got like a major buy. It's Athene's Deathcap and Void Staff. They get kind of a half-ass engage, so they can't really do too much to us here. And we run back a bit. We're not really sure if we want to fight because they're not going too hard either. They only get Shockwave on Darius. He's a massive tanks. Double Lift goes a bit too far in. So Special just gets a good flash play. I don't know. We just pretty much roll over them. I think I managed to shield Darius. No, I shield Wild Turtle instead. That's a mistake. But look how much damage my Mantra Q does. And we just pretty much win the team fight from there. I got a good 3-man Q on them, but even then, I think we would have just won the fight.
All right, so I'll just kind of fill on you, and then right here.
Yeah, I wasn't actually sure if I pressed my ult before I queued, so I was kind of worried I wouldn't get the penta, but I did get it.
Let's go. How did it feel like? You're like, oh my god, we came back in game 2, because I know you said you're already winning, but like you're down game 1, you've got to win that one. Is that like when you realize we're back in the series, or was it the earlier fight?
It was just like when we called Link, I just knew we were back in the game. Even getting the penta, I didn't feel as excited as I think I should have, or people expected me to, because I'm like, damn, I think we should have lost that game. That's what went through my head, was like, I got the penta, but I think that we should have lost that game. But
first thought.
Like, at least we capitalized on their mistake, and that's really what mattered.
Yeah, and that went really well. So you guys won game 3. Reggie, I want to direct this next question to you. You guys know that tomorrow you're going to fight the winner of Curse versus Cloud9. That's the next match. Where are you going to watch that from?
We're probably just gonna watch it from backstage and just talk about the game and probably rewatch the games a lot tonight and just come up with a good strategy for it. It's definitely gonna be a tough match, but you know, we're gonna try our best and come in with a good plan. I think we feel a lot more comfortable after beating CLG. It was just one of those things where we haven't played a match in 2 weeks, and going into it we're worried because of all the new changes, but it looks like we're going to have a good strategy going in for it tomorrow. Well,
that's good. You guys seem to adapt throughout the day. Of course, Reginald, good birthday present there to win the semifinals. Your team is top 2 now. If you can win tomorrow, you'll go into the All-Star Invitational. I guess, Bjergsen, you're going regardless, either in the Challenge or the Invitational, so we'll see you in France. So you guys, incredibly well-played game. The best of 3 went through for you guys. Really awesome stuff. So I guess I'm trying to think of what the next thing to say is. I guess our next match, Cloud9 versus Curse. How do you feel about those 2 teams?
We've been scrimming Curse a lot, and I think that they actually looked a lot stronger in scrims than they did against Dig yesterday. Maybe they had they just have to feel confident, but I feel like they've definitely improved a lot. And I think if Cloud9 don't, if they underestimate them the slightest, I think Curse can easily pull out, not easily, but they can pull out a win if Cloud9 doesn't play their fullest.
Reggie, how about you?
Curse has been looking really strong lately. But the games in Dignitas looked really sloppy. I think that Dignitas should have won that game, but they ended up throwing it at Baron like always. That's kind of mean, but it's true. You know, the games were really close. C9's the type of team where if you lose advantage, they're gonna snowball on you completely. So with that type of play, they're not gonna win. But they were doing really well against instant scrims, and they were playing a lot better than what they showcased. I think if they can just get it together, pick good champions, just come in. They can definitely take the match if they just play well. They're really good if they're on their best, but they have off days as well.
All right, well, guys, thank you very much. Congratulations on the win. We'll see you tomorrow in the finals, the best of 5. That'll be fun no matter who you're facing against. Well, after the break, we're going to get to our next semifinal matchup, Cloud9 versus Curse. But first, TSM is one step closer towards winning the North American LCS and securing their spot at All-Stars Paris. And for many players in the league, this is the chance of a lifetime.
It feels really good to be in the top 3 for All-Stars because that means basically if TSM, CLG, or Cloud9 win playoffs, then I'll go to All-Stars.
I kind of came here not knowing how the fans were going to react because I had to fill some big shoes for Reginald, and I'm happy that people feel like I'm doing a good enough job to even get voted into All-Stars, so I'm super happy about it.
Yeah, it's an honor, because When I was coming into the season, I didn't make Worlds. I was pretty sad. And I was like, okay, like, this might be my last season playing competitively, so I gotta make it count. When I saw, like, oh, people actually think I'm still good, it was a really big confidence boost, and it was really cool to do that. And I want to do it again, and just make my fans happy.
I actually want to go to All-Stars because that's in Paris, and who doesn't want to go to Paris?
France does have a lot of stuff that I would like to see, and it's a pretty cool tourist destination.
It's like a romantic town, isn't it? With like, it's like a town for girls and guys, and it's just like, I'm there with my team, I guess I'll go on a date with one of them or something.
I think it'd be really nice to just kind of see what the hustle and bustle is about in Paris. I kind of want to go see, obviously, the Eiffel Tower and just go to like all the landmarks and stuff.
I love traveling, and I would love to just explore the city if we have time.
I'm excited about the whole idea of Paris. If we end up going to Paris, it just means that we're the best team in NA at that point.
Ultimately, I would prefer to go with my team because they're my team.
We're really excited to have a chance to go to All-Stars. We really want to go.
I think it's really huge, especially going into the summer split, having like played against other regions and talking to other regions, like how they play, see how they play.
You get international experience, and you get to play against the best teams in the world that people watch from other regions.
It's going to be a really great experience and really help us understand where we are on the world level.
I want to go to be able to play against Impact, against all the other infamous top laners from other regions. I want to be able to play versus them and experience how great they are as top laners and to be able to learn from them.
Mainly, I only want to play against the Koreans because they're the best in the world.
SKT is going, so I definitely want to play against them.
They're the strongest team, and I want to see how we fare against them.
Faker is a god. Their entire team is just flawless.
The region I would look most forward to is probably playing against EU, because it's like, it's where I came from.
Being able to play versus anyone, even in Europe, or whether it's Korea or China, then it's just going to be an awesome feeling.
People are voting for me, so I'm just really happy about it, and if they want me to represent NA, then I'll do it.
It means a lot knowing that all these people have voted for me. There's, what, over 100,000 votes for me, that they just want me to represent the region, and it feels really good.
If we're able to win, you know, that's awesome. Like, you know, that's enough for me already. I just really want to do it, you know, just to show people that I can do it.